Well, today we're going to talk to, I would say, one of the global superpowers in retail. In retail, we know there is a rivalry and there's a few global superpowers. Tesco is, I believe, number 3 in the world for retail. And so we will be talking a little bit about Tesco, and it's very exciting, one of their most exciting divisions within Tesco, and that's entertainment. Now, Tesco's a company, despite the recession made record profits of 3.4 billion euros, or almost like 5 billion US dollars, and their reach extends well beyond retail and telecom, fuel, banking, and the most exciting part, entertainment, which is really exploding at Tesco to include distribution, a new website where you can get everything delivered to your door, but also filmmaking, record labels, and increasingly into the digital competition and divide. So we are very excited today to be joined by Rob Salter. He is the category director of entertainment for Tesco, which makes him a big player at Tesco. So first of all, Rob, I want to thank you for being here with us today.
That's my pleasure.
So Tesco's just a giant and worldwide presence, working in lots of sectors. You head up the entertainment division. How big is the entertainment division?
Well, I guess it depends a little bit on your definition. We've got a big music business, great big DVD business, and we sell a lot of games as well. But I would also say it extends into books and newspapers and magazines. So if you look at our media selling business across all of the different divisions, it's a good few billion in terms of its overall impact on our business. So a sizable business.
Okay. So then given that huge number, and you're the director of all that, what is your job description?
Well, I think first and foremost, my job is to lead the strategy for entertainment for Tesco. And I think entertainment is one of those really interesting categories, depending on how you look at it, that's going through some massive transformational changes. So as we see the physical world becoming digital, and to some degree the world of stores becoming an online business, entertainment is typically at the forefront of that, because it's actually going through some of the changes that we think will also impact on retail in a broader sense in the future.
What is your vision for moving from that physical to digital world and reaching out to those consumers in their living room?
Well, I think the first thing that a retailer like Tesco always looks to do is really understand what the customer is looking to do or wanting to do. And I think in our area we've had an enormous amount of confusion, people not really knowing how to access some of these new services. So we do think that the television is going to become an important retail channel as much as it is an entertainment channel. So people buying movies, listening to music, playing games, but also accessing the internet. So this idea of a connected home through a television set, where the internet is an integral part of that television set, is already happening. So already today you can buy a TV that's internet connected, or increasingly you'll be able to buy a box that connects your TV in such a way that you can access those additional services. So we do see people sitting in their living rooms. Yes, entertainment will still be the primary activity that's going on in those TV sets, but also a collapsing of the relationship between what people are seeing on the TV and then what they might do from a retail perspective. So one of the examples that we have put forward is the idea of a cook show, and we're thinking back to the early days of television when you would watch the cook show, and at the end of the show they would invite you to send a stamped addressed envelope off to the show, and they would send you the recipe back in the post, and then 2 weeks later you could bake the cake that you saw being made on the programme. In the last few years we've seen people being able to access that information by leaving the TV set, going off to the internet, and then looking for the recipe on the website, maybe printing it off in their home, so getting a much more immediate access to that information. And what we see as the next step is, with an internet-connected TV, we expect customers to be able to maybe push a button on the screen as they're watching the show and have the ingredients pop up right there and then. And if they so wish, select some of those ingredients and have them put straight into their, I hope, into their Tesco shopping basket for immediate purchase or potentially home delivery. Or indeed we might see them seeing some of the assets in the programme, maybe the pans that have been used, or even what the presenter is wearing, and being able to click on the asset and then see some information that could then lead them to buy that product. So it's this idea of a collapsing of the different mediums, internet, TV, coming together and almost being indistinguishable from the other. I watch my 13-year-old son, who sits there in the living room, and there's the TV there, he's got his laptop, he's on Facebook, allegedly doing his homework, and he's there and he's interacting with both of those at the same time. So he's seeing maybe a car show, he's got the car website on the screen, he's talking to his friends, he's talking to me about what he's seeing, and so there's this collapsing of those two experiences into one is what we see as the next generation, if you like, of connected experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Rob, the new reality is people are sitting in their living room and this is their palette of choices. So that's a very competitive marketplace for moving into that digital divide. Lots of competition, smart TVs, everybody's trying to move into that space. How does Tesco see this concept of targeted marketing and exclusive windows, so that you're really this is happening in other industries where you're data mining and figuring out what consumers like so that you can target them specifically and offer the products that they like using social media, or what other strategy do you have to reach out to that particular person who's watching either the cooking show or NASCAR, because they're probably not the same person, and you spend your marketing dollars figuring out who you want to target?
That's a really interesting question. One of the things that Tesco invested in a number of years ago was its Club Card program, where every customer has the opportunity to sign up for it literally is a card in the current guise, where they can have this personalised card that they use whenever they visit the store. So anyone who comes to the store and makes a purchase using their card, they get a discount of points. So they're given points as a reward for their spend, and they collect those points over a number of weeks and months, and then every so often we'll send them in the mail a series of vouchers that either get them further discounts or in fact just turn those points into cash that they can then spend in the store. It's a very deep program. Tesco has around 20 million shoppers a week, and of those 20 million, 17 million are using a club card. So we have a very rich pool of data, and as a consequence of club card and because of the electronic information that we get at the till point, we can pretty much see what each individual customer is buying and where their spend is going. So when we link that to the connected experience through the web, we will be able to target ads to specific users. So if we know that a particular person is watching who has an interest in a particular product type, or we can profile them in a particular way, then we can push advertising to the customer that we know they'd like to see versus products that perhaps they wouldn't. So there is a vision where each customer could get a personalised experience different from one another.
Right, okay, so speaking of that, now the music industry had a big problem because they went digital, and then they lost a lot of control. They weren't set up right, and it almost became almost shareware. So now we're moving into, you I know at Tesco are moving into the space where things are digital, movies are digital, and companies are sending you DVDs with a digital registration, which isn't necessarily good because you really want to capture that consumer. So what I understand is that there's now a consortium, there's an effort to try to prevent what happened to the records with digital, the DECE, the Digital Economic Consortium, of which Tesco is a part, and Sony and Warner Brothers and Paramount. I mean, it seems like everybody is trying to develop a standard so that people can download a movie, not have to have a physical copy. Where are you in that, that space? Are you actively working with this organization? How do you feel that the security and how that's going to all play out?
Yeah, so we've been a part of DCE for a couple of years now, and we think it's a really a great initiative. It's actually the same group of companies that have always come together to work out things like standards for DVD. So as a customer, we're used to going to the store, buying a DVD or a Blu-ray, we take it home and we put it in our laptop or in our player in our living room, and it just works. Now, we take that for granted, but of course that didn't happen by accident. It required the people who make the players and the people who make the discs to agree some standards to allow those two things to come together and work. And it's the same group of companies are coming together to try and do that for digital, apart from it's exponentially more difficult because there is no physical player involved. So technically it's much more complicated. And one of the things that I like about the DC initiative is that they've really focused their attention on what I would regard as the legitimate consumer. Yes, we know piracy is a massive issue. Yes, we know that in the music industry, music is now being seen as something that customers expect to get for free, and monetizing content in a digital world is really hard. But all the efforts that have happened so far seem to have been focused on preventing theft and not actually helping the legitimate customer. So what DCE's done is it's taken what we all do today. Imagine going to the store, you buy a disc, you take it home. We know from research that families are not sitting down together and watching a movie, that movie will probably pass around different family members. It will go to a child's bedroom, it will be played in a living room, it may be played in the rear of a car, it will be played on a laptop, on a DVD player. So customers actually have a great degree of flexibility today. They go to the store, they buy the disc, they come home, they put it in the machine and they press play. And it's very simple and very deep. Lots of customers like to enjoy movies that way. What DC's done is said, what if we try and recreate that experience in a world where there is no disc and there is no set kind of player? It could be a mobile phone, it could be a TV set, it could be a laptop. How do we create an infrastructure that allows customers to buy content in a non-physical form and then move that content around their users and their lifestyle in the same way? So what DCE has done is it's really built around one or two core principles. Number one, that in buying a movie, you're effectively buying a license to that movie, not just a copy. And the license that you're buying allows you to play that license on a number of devices that you'll pre-register. And the great thing about that is that as people change their devices over time, they switch one mobile phone out into another, they can simply switch the registration. So they'll have a pool of devices that are registered to their account.
Mm-hmm. Now you're moving into new ground with in your entertainment category in providing content and actually looking at. I understand that you made a Jackie Collins movie into a book, and that you as a retailer producing content, that's a whole new world. Tell us a little bit about your strategy or how you plan and why you plan on actually being a content provider as well as a distributor.
Well, one of the things that retailers, not just Tesco, but most retailers, but particularly Tesco, look to do is always looking for innovative ways of bringing things to customers that might bring greater value or a deeper relationship with a particular product. And one of the things that we really liked about the Jackie Collins project was, first of all, Jackie herself was very much involved. So typically in the world of books and movies, what normally happens is a movie maker will come to an author and say, we'd love to make a film of your book. We may or may not make it, but here's some money and we'll maybe see you at the premiere if we ever make it. And then that's the kind of the end of the relationship.
I want that gig, by the way.
It's a great gig, yeah. Free money. But actually what tends to happen is that when that film does get made, the author's had no real involvement and quite often is disappointed with what the output is. So a lot of authors have chosen not to allow that to happen, those that perhaps don't quite need the money. So this was a way of getting the authors much more deeply involved. And for me as a retailer in creating something like that, having Jackie, for example, coming along and working the project and being part of it was actually quite useful because we sell millions of Jackie's books and she's a very well-known celebrity. So marrying those two worlds together seemed like an interesting idea. And the other thing that really excited me about it was that Amber, the guys who made this movie for us, really came to us and said, look, we can take Hollywood-type production quality and standards, but on a much, much lower budget. So we can make a movie that looks and feels like a Hollywood blockbuster, but actually costs a fraction of the price. And anything that allows a retailer like Tesco to pass that value on to the customer is a good thing. So interesting on a number of levels.
Well, you have probably the most exciting job that I've ever heard of, merging the worlds of retail, entertainment, and the digital future and divide. And so good luck to you in that space. And I know that you don't need much luck because Tesco's just doing a bang-up job, as they say, I think a bang-up job in the UK and moving into California, moving to the US, all over the world. So Rob Salter, I'm so happy that you shared a little bit with us today about the great and exciting work that you're doing at Tesco.
It's an absolute pleasure.
So there you go, one of the global superpowers in retail moving into completely new spaces. That's what we're looking at in this new competitive environment. Thanks for joining us.